Welcome back, everyone. I'm here back on lockdown again, and I'm here at my garden. Beautiful day outside. We're gonna get some rain very soon, so I want to kind of get hopping here this morning. I want to show you my wild edible garden, in particular a really awesome shrub that I'm gonna make a delicious tea and jelly with. So let's check things out. Well, before we look at the shrub I want to show you, take a look at my veggie garden. I've already started sprouting these several weeks ago in my hydroponic setup there, the AeroGarden. Now I've transplanted my lettuce here into little pots. I'm growing, as you saw earlier on my Instagram, I'm growing some of my own annuals. I've got some pansies and geraniums. My geraniums, only 3 of them germinated. I don't know if I planted them properly. They're supposed to be pretty exposed to the sunlight to germinate, so we'll see. At least I got 3 there. And down here, my kale has started, and I got a squash, and I've got a few more in the AeroGarden. They're just a bit too small to put in here yet. And these are my the nut trees that I germinated over the winter. So I think that one there is a bur oak. So pretty cool. Got them all in here, and just on the back deck here in the sun. They love it out here. I've got it enclosed in this little greenhouse so that they stay warm, and if it's supposed to frost at night, I just pop the front down and we're good to go. So last year I gave you guys a tour of my wild edible garden in a little bit later spring, so you guys can check out that video. I'll put the link up here. And everything's just sort of starting and just sort of waking up in the garden here. I'm gonna get into the forest really soon. My ramps, my wild leeks, are just about getting ready to harvest. They're about this tall right now, so gotta wait a little bit longer. Super pumped. I also have some wild ramp seeds that I've scattered around the yard here, but they take a couple of winters to kind of germinate, so it's gonna be a little bit of time for those to come along. Last year, after harvesting a lot of elderberry, I really wanted my own elderberry shrub here. And this is not the one I'm really want to show you today, but anyway, it's coming along. This is a black lace elderberry. It's pretty small, but in a few years, it's going to be big, and we're going to have nice flower umbels and some elderberries. So a nice wild medicinal shrub here. And one more wild edible that's up right now in the garden are my daylilies. These daylily shoots, they are edible, a lovely green. And you can see they've got that nice little pocketing here, unlike an iris, which is toxic. They don't have these little pockets in here. So I've got quite a few daylilies. They're not my favorite plant, to be honest with you, but they seem to grow everywhere, so I don't have any trouble with eating these. And in the back corner of my garden, I'm still working on this right now. The dog wants to run around in it, so I have to use a little bit of goat fence to fix this, but he wants to run around, and there's a garlic patch in there, so I don't want him in there. And there's my blackberry right there. So next we're going to head out front to one of my first wild edibles that comes out in the year. It's the forsythia. Now I have a little bit of guilt for planting this. It is a non-native shrub, but it is a wild edible. The flowers are edible. So today we're going to make a lovely tea from them and also show you how to make some forsythia jelly. So here they are. Here are my little forsythia bushes. 3 of them. They're really small. These guys tend to get really large, and you need to prune them every year. But when you're pruning, don't forget, you can eat these flowers. They have a little bit of a bitter taste, but you can put them on salads. You can make syrup, tea. I'm gonna make some jelly today. So yeah, let's try one. Very crunchy. Definitely a little bit of a bitter flavor to them, and that's certainly why a lot of animals don't eat them, but more for us, I guess. So we'll be sweetening our recipes today with a bit of sugar, so they'll taste really good. All right, so I'm gonna get about 3 cups of these. I want to save some for the bees. I've seen some bees actually getting some nectar off of these, so that's awesome. I guess that's why I don't feel super duper guilty about having this as a non-native shrub in my yard, because it's one of the first things that comes out, and it really supports the pollinators in my neighborhood. So I was kind of torn up about putting these in, but you know what? Helps the bees. It's all good. There's an insect right there. There's a bunch going around here collecting pollen. If any of you know what that insect is, let me know down below in the comments. So one thing about having a wild edible garden at home, and you're at stay-at-home orders, lockdown, you can forage for your food no problem. So pretty excited. I've sort of planned kind of like English garden style with my wild edibles. Things come up at different times. So I've got my forsythia coming up first, and my daylilies, and next up are my haskell berries. They're kind of like a blueberry, but they mature in June, so I'm pretty excited. Oh, and I have fiddleheads in the backyard, so that's next. We're coming along really nicely here. Sometimes there's little bugs in here. Those will disappear. There's one little, oh, here he is. Or she is. I don't know which. It's a little tiny, looks like a little ladybird beetle crawling all over my hand. The varieties I showed you guys on my Facebook post, covered in pollen from the forsythia. You can see the yellow, oops, maybe not, got pollen all over them. Just gonna put it back in the grass there. Okay, I'm done. I'm really happy with that. And like any responsible forager, I've left quite a lot for the insects. So I'm going to take this inside and we'll show you the next step. So now I'm going to add some warm water to this. Before we do, I just want to show you, I mentioned the Haskell berries there. And so they're just, I mean, they're just leafing out right now. So I've got a bunch around here. They're pretty small. They're only 2-year-olds. But last year I had some nice berries. They taste like blueberries. They look like blueberries, only a little bit elongated. And they come out in June. And even before that, actually, I forgot to mention I have lilac here. And they're just starting to bud out. So I'll make a lovely lilac syrup with these eventually. I've got about 2 of these here. And just behind that, well, there's another. Wow, this one's coming on a lot farther than thought. So this is another hackset berry right here. And we're getting a lot of berries this year. Look at those flowers. Ooh-wee. That's doing really well. Behind here is the nannyberry. I just want to show you that. So nannyberry, that's not until late summer, early autumn. My grape back there. Another lilac. We've got stuff everywhere. And here are the hops. I'll use that for beers later on. You can see the old vine right there. And yeah, they're shooting up pretty well too, so that's good. Had a lot of hops last year. And this is chokeberry. So they won't be ready to harvest for some time now, but I've got 2 of these here too. So you may want to leave your forsythia blooms just out in the sun for a little bit because you get those little tiny bugs. They're going to just want to, oh, see there's some at the bottom there. They look kind of like little fruit flies. So they're going to just zap and fly out of here. So you might just want to leave this out for a little bit just to get rid of them. If there's some in there during your prep, not a big deal. You're going to, you know, strain everything out at the end and it's just more protein. So once you're done with this sort of sitting out for a while, I collected these in kind of a reactive bowl. So I'm going to just transfer them into just this regular bowl here. That's non-metal. And then we're going to add some boiling water. Ever feel like you're being watched? Right, I'm going to add some boiling water to this. And then we're going to let it steep overnight in the fridge. Just let this cool down to room temp. Oh, it smells so good. It smells so sweet. Ooh, thank goodness I got a big enough bowl. So you can see right away the water's turning this gorgeous yellow color. And it's a really beautiful floral smell that I'm getting. So you'll see, of course, the petals wilt right away. I'm going to pop this in the fridge overnight after we let it sit just to cool down to room temperature. And then through the magic of TV, we'll be back and making some tasty things with these spring flowers. Well, here we are. This is after 24 hours in the fridge to get a really nice infusion in our forsythia tea. So what we have to do next is I'm just going to take out the leaves right here, and you can put them in the compost or whatnot. You can sort of strain this through cheesecloth if you wish. I've just got this little spoon here to strain it out. And remember, they're edible, so even if there was a little bit left in there, not a big deal. So then I'll have basically a liter of my forsythia tea, my infusion. We're going to use that to make a few things today. There we go. I would say that is the color of orange pekoe tea. Take a look at that. It has a really nice earthy, nutty kind of smell to it actually. And when you taste it, it tastes very nut-like. So that's really cool. So let's make a drink. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some ice here to the drink glass. Dump it all in. I'm going to kind of make an iced tea, as it were. So I'm going to take a little bit of my forsythia here. Forsythia tea. Oh yeah, look at that. Woo. Don't want to spill too much of that good stuff. And if you like, if you want to make this alcoholic, you can add an ounce of neutral vodka to that. I like the neutral vodka just because it's very neutral. It doesn't have a very strong taste. So you can add some neutral vodka to it if you wish. And if you like a little fizz, you can put some ginger ale in there. Perfect. Get this out of the little bit I spilled here. Of course, let's make this nice and fancy. You can put a couple of cucumber slices on there. And then top with some forsythia flowers. Very pretty. Let's give this a taste. Very interesting flavor. Really interesting. You might want to add a little bit of maple syrup to sweeten this up, but like I said, very nice nutty flavor. Refreshing on a cool spring day. Back in the kitchen now, and I'm going to make the next thing we can make with the forsythia flowers, and that is a simple syrup. So what I've done is I've taken a cup of the forsythia tea, and I'm going to add to it 1 cup of organic cane sugar. So I'm just going to heat this up. We're just going to try to dissolve this sugar, so just kind of warm it up. Don't let it boil off or anything, but just enough to kind of heat it up so we can dissolve this sugar. And it'll be a beautiful syrup that you can put on pancakes or waffles. Really tasty. So I'll turn off the heat now, actually, before I let this go too far. Just going to add in that sugar. Take it off the heat. And you're going to stir this up to dissolve that sugar. When it's all dissolved, you'll just pour it into, I have an old maple syrup jar that's cleaned and sterilized. We'll stick it in there. Like having lots of wild flavors around the house. This is going to be great. So we're just about ready here. Looks pretty good. If you want a larger supply, then you can mix 1-to-1 sugar with your forsythia tea, and you can make a larger batch. One of my leftover maple jars, I'm just going to funnel this into there. Be careful, this is really hot. Here it is all done. Look at that color. Isn't that beautiful? You'll really impress your friends with that on the tabletop in the morning. Be sure to store it in your fridge. Another use for it is, if you want to add just a splash of the sweetened syrup to, your seltzer water, Perrier, whatever you want to do, it adds a really nice flavor to it. So last but not least, we're going to make some forsythia jelly. So I have this Lantic jam and jelly mix. I have my forsythia tea, and I have a pot. So I'm going to make about 5 to 6 250 ml jars. That's what our aim is. So what you need is about 3 cups of the liquid and then an entire package of this Lantic jam and jelly mix. Put all the ingredients in this pot. And we're going to boil it for 4 minutes. And of course, how could I forget the lemon juice? We'll need about 50 mils of lemon juice for this recipe as well. So add all the ingredients here, including the lemon juice, and we're going to stir this constantly and boil it for 4 minutes. After 4 minutes, we'll take it off, skim it, and we'll test it for gelling and put it in our jars. Really fast and easy recipe. Ooh, she's boiling like crazy. Just make sure to keep stirring so don't get sugar burnt on everywhere. Watch your fingers. And you may have to turn down the heat as necessary if it starts to try to boil over. So do that. Smells amazing. So we're doing this for about 4 minutes. I've got my timer on. And then after the 4 minutes, you might want to test a little bit on an ice cold plate coming out of the freezer to see if it's going to gel up. So you can put a couple of drops on your plate. If it gels and kind of crinkles when you move it with your nail, like I've shown you guys in past videos, like when I was making my violet jelly, then you know you're ready to go. And of course, if it isn't gelling, put it back on, boil it some more, and check every 2 minutes until it's gelled. So I just pulled this ice cold plate out of the freezer, and I put a couple of drops of our gel in there. Oh yeah, it's gelling up. Perfect. I think we're basically ready to put it in the jars. So put it in the jar, just make sure to take off any of the foam. Just using this. It'll be all foamy in your storage containers. Got some hot jars here, nice and sterilized. We're just going to pour in our jelly. Fill about 1 centimeter from the top. I ended up using 2 larger jars, and I have a little jar here for a smaller bit of jelly that I'm going to have on the breakfast table for tomorrow. So let this cool down to finish gelling and store in the fridge. Forsythia jelly. All right, it's all set. There you go. Some beautiful Forsythia jelly. I'm gonna put this on a pita chip. Perfection. Boy, that's good. Excellent. You don't taste that, that sort of earthy, nutty taste with the jelly. It's a beautiful, sweet taste. With the simple syrup, you do taste that nutty earthen flavor, and definitely with your Forsythia tea. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show, making all things Forsythia. I hope you guys have a wonderful week as always, and enjoy the bounties of spring. Hope you have a good week. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.